On the Thursday edition of Card Watch, we'll be taking a look at some value cards that have been dropping with recent updates and new sets coming out. That makes these cards far more attractive in price than they have been in a long time, which means they are a value buy to a lot of players. The fact that cards fall in price when new sets come out because players forget about them and they get left in the dust, it is one of the highlights of Magic players who know where to go hunting for value. Because a lot of these cards will rebound later on, but at the same point, maybe you just always wanted to have the card and now you finally can buy it at a reasonable price. Welcome back, everyone. MTG Moxman here. Thanks again for hanging out with me on the Thursday edition of Card Watch. Now, on today's video, of course, we'll go through a series of cards that have either dropped in value, have some unique capabilities, or are less likely to get reprinted than others. And there's only one reserve list card, I think, on the list this week, but I want to make note of it because it has a lot of impact going forward for players who are paying attention to what's happening with how Wizards of the Coast is creating the market around them right now. This is great stuff to follow up on. Now, we all know we just had Lord of the Rings drop, and that was one whole giant fiasco that's still unraveling, and it'll be a tale that will be told for decades to come because it's a real highlight moment in the FOMO exercise of what happens when Wizards actually does something right, when something, really clicks together. Upcoming Commander Masters means a lot of players are hesitant to see or buy anything until they know what's coming out on the spoiler list, and sometimes cards get forgotten. They drop in price, and these cards can have serious impact if you're playing Commander or playing in formats where players have not seen these cards in a very long time. We're going to talk about that as we go through the video. So let's get the party started. Let's roll through a couple of cards here. We're starting in Ice Age with Jockalops, okay, guys? This card is under $10. It's less likely to get a reprint than a lot of other cards, and it is starting to see a lot more play, and there's a reason for that. When you take a look at a card like this, yes, it has a heavy mana cost. It has 2 red, 4 generic. A lot of mana ramp nowadays, shouldn't be too difficult. But this card says bury all artifacts, creatures, and lands. All, which means you can use it inside Commander, hits all your opponents. And cards like this are seeing more play, specifically because of the fact there can be decks built with mainly Planeswalkers, super friends, but you can also have a lot of enchantment-heavy decks now that need board clearance without getting rid of enchantments. This is the kind of card they're seeing a lot more play. Keep this kind of card in mind. You may see this thing get minor reprints here and there. Of course, if it goes to super high levels, Wizards will reprint it. Don't make any bones about it. But at this point, at this price level, it's very affordable, and it really helps a player control the game state when they need it to happen. Great card, guys. Now, our next card, and we're going to follow a few here on this vein for a reason I want to get to when I get to the last card. Here's Flashfires. This is from Revised. Now, these cards, the ones I'm showing you, they're not getting reprinted. This was, I think, last reprinted in the 30th anniversary. We know how that worked out. But when you look at Flashfires, yeah, 20 cents, I know, no big price. All planes in play are destroyed. So if you're playing a red deck or a goblin deck and you want to have a board clearance wipe that isn't going to affect your stuff, this is how vindictive the game used to be in 1993-94. These things happened. Here is Volcanic Eruption, another deadly card that you should be looking at and thinking about. It's a 40-cent card. It is 3 blue plus X. Destroy X mountains of your choice. And does 1 damage to each player and each creature in play for each mountain destroyed. So it's affecting all your other Commander players. Even if you're only hitting 1 Commander player with it, everyone is getting affected. Because everyone is your opponent. And yourself. You're all taking some damage. And you're hurting creatures around you. This card can be brutally used. Now, if you want a little panache, if you want a little style, go for the unlimited copy for a whole $10. Hey, why not go for a beta copy for 25 to 40 bucks? Guys, these cards are cheap. They're probably not getting reprinted, and they're very affordable right now. I just don't understand why they're not being bought, but hey, I've used them a couple times, and let me tell you, the effects are devastating. Now, our next card, I've talked about this a few times. This is Tsunami. Again, you can get an alpha lightly played Tsunami for under $100 on something like TCG Player. And of course, this is the moment I'm going to shill for myself. Anyone who is going to be shopping using TCG Player, please remember to use the affiliate link for my stuff. It's inside the description of all my videos. If you click the link in my videos, it takes you to TCG Player for your shopping experience, but the Moxman here on the channel gets credit, which I get to use toward buying cards for the channel. I really appreciate everyone who takes the time to do that. There's a lot of card purchasing going on, getting ready for the 20K party, and I can use all the help I can get. So this kind of card that destroys all islands in play is just brutal. Okay, keep these cards in mind, because even if you don't want to get an unlimited copy for like 10 to 15 bucks, you can go ahead and get a revised copy near mint for 20 cents, 30 cents, $1. This is nothing. But these cards have massive effects. I saw a person play this in an elf deck. Okay, it was brutal to see it wipe out the other two commander players. I couldn't believe it, and nobody saw it coming. And that was just yesterday at work, okay? It was amazing. I did recommend it, and I wanted to see people's faces, but it was still awesome to see it happen. Now, our next card. This is Acid Rain. Now, this is from Legends. This card, we're getting more expensive here in this particular card, but I just want to note the price drop we're seeing in a lot of older cards right now. These cards are going to continue to fall. I'm showing this card because it destroys all forests in play, right? It destroys all the forests. But the idea, and the casting costs are all similar, but the idea that this card is going to keep falling. Legends cards, old cards right now, the market's not responding well, and that's just kind of where we're at. So let these cards fall. If you're looking to buy some of these, I would just keep your eye on the cards you're looking for. Wait for this stuff to fall to a certain price point where you can afford to get your hands on it, where you think it's at a worthy value. Now, this is not an old card. Here we have Modern Horizons 2, Yavimaya Cradle of Growth, and they did a reprint of this already in Lord of the Rings. So this is the original version, which is much cheaper than the Lord of the Rings copy. But at the same time, because they've reprinted it, and it's already out there, cards like this are now at rock bottom prices. I actually didn't expect a reprint of this card yet for 2 more years. So my little thing I use to track stuff is way off on a few of these cards because they got reprinted way sooner than I expected. And Yavimaya Cradle of Growth is one of these cards. It's an amazing card. I hope they finish the land cycle one day to get all of them done. But at this point, at this price point, if you don't own at least one to build into a commander deck, pick it up. Under $10, this is a steal. This is actual value that you'll be able to carry forward for years in different deck construction. And you really only need one if it's for Commander. If you want to use it for other formats, buy yourself a playset of 4. Spend like 38 bucks. It's going to be cheap. Now, Mount Doom. It's just out, right? This is Lord of the Rings. But look where the price is falling. This card, I think, has long-ranging effects that people don't realize. Number one, it doesn't come into play tapped. I've talked about this. Paying a life is a minimal cost when you're into a Commander game, as well as a lot of formats like Vintage and Legacy. The idea you can just do 1 damage to each opponent, and you're playing against 4 people, that's 3 mana for 3 damage or more. That's amazing. But it's the last ability that I love. Sacrifice Mount Doom and a legendary artifact. Choose up to 2 creatures, then destroy the rest. Activate as a sorcery. A board clearance that can't be stopped is amazing. There's very few ways of stopping this kind of effect from going off. Mount Doom is the doom of everyone around you if engineered and played properly. Okay, an amazing card, guys, and look how cheap this thing is. The market price at $4.50, come on. And the prices, by the way, I think they're going to fall a little bit further. This card's not even settled down yet, so just keep an eye on it. Now our next card, Fairy Mastermind. Cards like this have continued to dip as the money has moved on, but we still have the Wilds of Eldraine coming. So this is a card you should probably take note of. It was featured a few times in my top 10 videos on the weekend. Week after week, this thing was selling thousands of copies. But now the market is saturated. There's too many copies out there, and this thing is bone cheap, okay? When you compare this against like Ledger Shredder and some of the other cards we've had, this is way cheaper. The thing still has flash. It's got flying. You can make people draw, and you get to draw additional cards, and you can force people to draw. This is a great card, okay? The value here at this price point is worth buying and getting a play set of 4. Our next card, though, guys, interesting. This is the one I want to share with you. Rainbow Veil. Most people don't realize that this card has been having continued high volume sales. I've noted it numerous times, but over the last little while, I've started seeing this appear in more people's decks. Not just Legacy and Vintage decks, but just more Commander decks in general for various ways of helping out players that you want to help at certain points, but also to guarantee a mana supply. People consider it a very low risk card if it gets you the game state you want at the time frame you want it in. So I noticed this card being used in the last month, And then I saw a few more people, and then a new play group I hadn't actually played with before and didn't know who I was. There was 2 players that had that card, and they picked it up for about $4 each for just some moderately played copies. They didn't know the card existed. A friend showed it to them, so they bought some. This is just one of those cards because it can tap for any color mana. It doesn't hurt you, doesn't deal damage. You just pass it to an opponent. And I've always talked about destroying this land and then recursioning it and like bringing it back. But these people don't care. They are passing it along, knowing the their player will probably use it and bring it back to them. And getting themselves to the state of the game they want to be at to execute their plan is what they care about. It's like sacrificing in chess to get ahead. Crazy stuff. So just a card to keep an eye on. Now, okay, Ren the Realm Breaker. Okay, Ren and Realm Breaker here from March the Machine. This thing was like 50, 60 bucks. Then it was like 30, 40 bucks for a couple months. Look where it's fallen. This is a really good card, and it shouldn't be ignored. It's 2 green and 1 other. Your lands you control have tap to add 1 color of any mana to your mana pool. This thing is an exceptionally good card that should not be this cheap. I know there's tons of ways of killing planeswalkers, but when you build a deck around mana ramp and getting things going, a 5-color deck, super friend decks, cards like this are just crazy good. And it's so cheap right now. And it's been falling in price with all these new things going on that people aren't paying attention to cards like this. So I just wanted to bring it to people's attention in case you hadn't noticed the price dropping. This is a value card for under 10 bucks that is just worth grabbing, okay? Now the last card I want to share with you is Shinka, the Blood-Soaked Keep, which of course was brought back as, Helms Deep. Helms Deep was the reprint from Lord of the Rings. So this card has totally tanked in the last little while. But that doesn't mean it's not a value card you should pick up. Because it taps to add 1 mana to your mana pool, no drawback, it's a legendary land, but you target legendary creature can gain first strike. Think about the cards that do this. This isn't like when they just reprinted Caracas, but it's banned in Commander. This thing can be used. This thing can be utilized. Now, I personally really love this artwork. I love the Helms Deep one as well, I gotta be honest. But I was surprised by how captivating I found this type of artwork as well. And it's the original OG version for like 12 bucks. 12 bucks near mint. The idea that Wizards of the Coast, with the printing schedule they're on, and just the sheer tens of thousands of cards that players don't realize are out there, it is easier nowadays to just kind of watch some stuff and learn stuff, but at the same time, go hunting. Go looking and say, I want a card that just blows up all this or does all this or does some crap, and then see what comes out of Google and spits your way. You'd be so surprised at some of the value cards you can find that most people have just forgotten about. Anyway, guys, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for hanging out with me today. Hope you enjoyed the content. And of course, if you did, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Help this channel get closer to 20,000 subscribers and the party we're going to have when we get there. Looking forward to seeing you guys tomorrow for the Friday edition of our videos for the Card Watch. It's going to be fun. I look forward to seeing you guys all there in the comment section. To all the viewers, my YouTube membership members, and of course the amazing patrons of the channel, don't forget that this weekend's live stream on Sunday is of course the Patreon giveaway. Looking forward to seeing you all there. It's going to be epic. You know what? I can't wait. So we're at the end of the video. The coffee's done, and you probably knew I did a video last night and I slammed this one out too. I had a blast doing it. Awesome. Jacked up on coffee, feeling good. Now this weekend, for those of you who are here, this weekend is a Patreon giveaway. But we have to do it a little bit differently because I will not be here on location on Sunday. I will be with my family at the other property because it is like a long weekend here in Canada and it's time I get to spend with my family before crazy stuff in summer happens for my son going to camps and stuff. So it's a time with the family, but Sunday will happen 6:30 Eastern Standard Time, regular time. There'll be, of course, the different background stuff. I'll be sitting and chilling on the couch. I will bring the stuff to spin the wheel and everything. We'll have a good time, but I want to make everyone aware of that. It might be a little bit different because of that, but I'm looking forward to seeing you all there. So thanks for stopping and thanks for being here, everyone. What a great day to be in Magic, man. Crazy stuff goes around. Some of those cards are just so good.